Hi everyone. I'm Padmapriya and I'm going to talk about how to attack the Jitheshraj Scholarship SOP. First of all, a huge shout out to the organizers and the applicants. Um, it's not easy applying for a scholarship that has such an involved application process. And I think each and every one of you is already a winner. Starting from October, you could have chosen to spend your time very differently, but you chose to spend it on applying to this scholarship. You could have binge watched Netflix and you instead chose to watch video lectures or go help out at NGOs. Instead of going to the Daba or the city, you chose to work on your hobby project. And now you're listening to me talking instead of hanging out with your friends or doing your homework. So, huge shout out to the applicants and the organizers, especially Shivaranjani. She's been in touch with me since October, and from lining up mentors and panelists and everything, the organizers have gone above and beyond in making sure that this application process goes smoothly. So, huge shout out to the organizers as well. And thank you all for having me as a mentor. This is the closest that I have been to college since I graduated, and it's a wonderful feeling to be so involved. So thank you all for having me. So now let me give you a brief introduction about myself. I graduated in 2014 with BTech in ECE. After that, I went to Stanford to do a master's in electrical engineering, and now I work at Google as a software engineer in networking infrastructure. Um, all my experience in writing essays comes from the 12 universities that I applied for when I went for my master's. These SOPs had varying requirements starting from 500 words to 2 pages long, and some had SOPs and some had diversity statements. So that's pretty much where my experience in SOPs comes from. A very important point is everything that I'm saying here, please take it with a pinch of salt. It's only my personal opinion. There are no rights or wrongs in writing an essay. So just think of these as friendly pointers rather than some set of guidelines that you absolutely must follow. So let's start with a brief look at the application requirements. So first of all, the GPA, you need to have more than 8 and you need to participate in a college level contest. So it could be Festember or Pragyan or any contest organized by a club. But then they're looking for participation, not volunteer work. Preferably a technical hobby project, but it could be anything of your interest. Participation in a MOOC or taking part in a volunteer work at some NGO, followed by 3 essays. 500 words on solving a problem that's plaguing the NIT Trichy community. 500 words on assessing the impact of a trend or issue. And 750 words on your personal journey through this application process. Now, if you look at this application requirements, it's so holistic. It tries to assess an individual not just on academic performance, but what they have done in every aspect of their college life. And to be honest, I'm a little jealous that we didn't have such an scholarship during my college time, because this is a great opportunity to steer how you act during the rest of your college years, and it's amazing that this gives you an opportunity to start early. Um, so now let's come to the focus of today's talk, which is the 750 word essay on the statement of purpose, explaining the pivotal moments during the scholarship application process that helped you explore and achieve clarity about yourself. How do you intend to leverage the learnings from this process through the rest of your college life? So, the way I think of this is I think of it as two parts. The first being, what are those pivotal moments that you experienced during this application process? And the second part is, how do you leverage this to do something meaningful in the rest of your college life? First of all, what is the purpose of a statement of purpose? In my opinion, The rest of the application process is where you list the things that you have done, where you provide your GPA or certificates about the MOOC or a certificate about NGO volunteer work, a project report. These are all listing to the committee what activities you've carried out. But the essay is what lends personality to your application. It lets the committee, it gives them a window into your thoughts and who you are. And the statement of purpose in specific focuses on your personal journey through this entire application process and helps them see how it changed you and how you're going to use the learnings towards making a better future for yourself as well as the rest of your peers and the campus as a whole during the next 3 years. So let's start with how you can organize your thoughts to, to let them see your personality through this essay. So the first one is the first part, which is where you want to focus on what you learned about yourself during this application process. So I can give a few examples here. Let's say you took on a hobby project, like making a line follower robot, or you volunteered to teach some kids in the village next to college. So you want to start thinking about what you learned during this process. Take the example of the line follower robot. Maybe what you learned is that you have a passion for electronics. Maybe what you learned is you really enjoy microcontroller coding, or you enjoy designing the entire system, but you don't like to actually build out the chassis or screwing things together. The manual jobs, they don't really appeal to you. It could be anything. Or like when you were volunteering to teach kids, maybe what you learned was that you have a knack with children, or you have a way of making people understand something. Or maybe what you learned is that you need to understand the local language to reach out to the kids better. It could be anything that you learned. So you want to spend some time sitting and thinking about every stage in the application process, starting from the MOOCs you took, the clubs or events you participated in, even the other essays you've written. It could be anything in the application process. Just start by writing out like 2 columns in a table, maybe. On one side, you start putting out every step that you took in that application process. And in the second column, start writing what you learned about yourself in that stage. And make a third column and start jotting down evidences or examples of specific moments during the process where that lesson became extremely clear to you. So you want to make sure that these are very specific moments, and generally it's better to avoid um, very generic things like time management or self-organization and things like that. If that's what you learned, awesome, focus on it. But just make sure that the lessons you learned are unique to your personal journey during this application process. Um, so this is just the first step. So write down everything that comes to mind. With that, we go to the second part. How do you intend to leverage the learnings from this process through the rest of your college life? So at this point now, you probably want to sit down and shortlist these ideas you've listed to pick out A, the ones that you consider are pivotal, and B, the ones that are actually going to shape what you do during the rest of your college. This will help you to reduce the words, because if you write the essay on everything that comes to your mind, it's not going to be possible to keep it in 750 words. So you probably want to shortlist the ideas that you think are most important and make them the focus of your essay. Um, so for some examples here, suppose while writing the essay for the community, you came up on an issue in campus that really you feel very strongly about, and in trying to think up ways to solve it, you decided to join a club that's working to solve this issue, or you decided to start a club to gather more momentum for the issue, or you decided to join feeds and write about it so more people get to know about it, and basically not just this issue but many other issues. um, so this is an example of a specific moment that is pivotal. It taught you that you feel very strongly about this issue, and you're going to leverage this learning about yourself by actually doing something meaningful during the next 3 years to work towards a fix for this issue. Another example here, while writing the essay for the society, let's say that the technological issue you decided to focus on was global warming. And as you spent more time studying global warming and the impact that it has on the environment, on economy, businesses, and people, maybe it motivated you to start a project on green semiconductor technologies or green building constructions, or you wanted to think up a new battery technology, solar powered initiatives. Maybe just start a campus initiative to reduce burning of trash. It can be anything. But this is another example of a specific moment where you decided to do something and dedicate the next 3 years towards doing this thing. So you want to now shortlist from that table the pivotal ones and focus on the meaningful actions that you are going to carry out to during the next 3 years based on what you learned about yourself. It's my personal opinion that it's better to focus on some intellectual learnings and avoid deviating into really emotional or philosophical ways of thinking. Um, yeah, so at this point now, you should have at least 2 to 3 ideas that you want to focus the rest of your essay on. So, what is it now? It's time to start actually writing the essay. Um, this is probably the hardest part. So here are some helpful tips to on just any writing. It helps to pick a quiet place where you're not going to be distracted or interrupted, and where you can truly focus. And it works for me, but just avoid checking the time constantly. Every time I check the time and I see, oh my god, an hour has gone by and I've written only five, 10 sentences, and I had intended to write half the essay in this time. You know, it's kind of puts more pressure on you, and it makes you stop focusing, and then you start getting nervous and panicky. So yeah, avoid checking the time constantly, and remember that you don't have to write the whole thing in one go. Just set some goals and don't stop writing until you meet those goals. Your goals could be anything, like I want to finish writing the introduction today, or I want to finish writing one of the ideas, just writing all the paragraphs focusing on that idea. um, it could even be that i I want to write the entire essay, and you allocate yourself like maybe 3 4 hours. It could be anything, but just remember you don't have to write the entire thing in one go, and usually it's helpful not to. um, it helps some time to do something else and come back to it when your fresh thoughts. You might be able to get over a writer's block or rewrite a paragraph that wasn't really going anywhere. So yeah. And another thing is, try to make an outline before you start writing. The table is a great place to start about the ideas, but generally, like, this outline I mean is the structure of the essay. um, like what you're going to put in the introduction, which idea is going to follow next, what's going to follow after, and how's your conclusion going to look, how many paragraphs you're going to have. Generally, an outline like that, it helps to basically provide a direction for you. And after you have the outline, you can refer to it as you write each paragraph. It's especially helpful if you're doing your writing in several chunks. If you've written all your thoughts down and you have the structure ready, then at any point of time you can pick up where you left off and get back to it without the fear that you may not remember what you were thinking at the time when you were writing. And just remember, at this point, you're not at all thinking about the word limit. You're focusing purely on putting pen to paper or fingers to keyboard and just putting the ideas down into actual words. So first, for the introduction, um, generally try to make it pop. You could start with an anecdote or an interesting quotation or some thought-provoking question, but something that will attract the readers to the essay, while at the same time conveying to the reader what the essay is about. That's a helpful way to start an introduction. Um, I always say to myself, you only have one chance at making a first impression. So you want to make sure that it's a great one. And so if you make the introduction pop, it will immediately attract the readers to the essay and keep their attention as you talk about the essay. And so just try to make the essay flow like a story, starting with a great introduction and then putting your ideas forward in a really cohesive manner. But when I say make the essay flow like a story, I don't mean making the entire essay and about anecdotes or stories. But this one in specific, this essay is about your personal journey, so you can indeed make it talk like a story. So here I have two examples about introductions, and as you can see, the first one is very direct. It talks about exactly what you did in the application process, what you learned, and what you're going to do in the next 3 years to build on it. It's very direct. It's about 40 to 50 words, and it's a great concise way to start an essay. And underneath that, I have another example which is about 60 to 70 words, and instead it conveys the exact same meaning, but it tells it like a story. It tells the same idea as you experienced it, perhaps, where you watched someone's eyes light up as they understood what you were teaching, and um, that is um, that during the next 3 years you're going to tutor your classmates to improve on your teaching skills, and you want to spread the joy of learning to your peers. So it's just my opinion that the second one is probably a lot more attractive to the readers and makes them want to know more about what's happening than the plain Jane first one. Um, but that said, you want to make sure that the introduction, by making it like a story, you don't want to end up making the essay really lengthy. So it helps. You have to find kind of a fine balance between the two, but it's generally very nice to start reading an essay like this, and after reading, the reader is more likely to remember the second version than the first, because the second one kind of provides them, like it's like watching a movie, through the actual story of what happened. So generally a reader is more likely to remember what you did if it's conveyed like a story or a movie. Then the actual body of the essay. Try to focus only one or two ideas in a paragraph. Avoid making the paragraph really lengthy and conveying too many ideas in the same paragraph. And it helps if the paragraphs flow smoothly from one to the other in some logical manner. Um, but that said, if you have two completely different ideas, a new paragraph would be a great place to start the second idea. Try to avoid introducing new ideas towards the end of the paragraph, because it tends to make the paragraph lengthy, and you have to again set up the idea in the next paragraph. So, yeah, if you're starting a new idea, it's better to start it in a new paragraph. And just make the, like I was saying, just make the essay flow like a story, and in some structure or manner. And in the end, just like the introduction, have about 100 words to summarize the key takeaways for the reader from the essay. And yeah, again, just about 100 words or so. You don't have to repeat everything from the essay, just the key points that you'd like the reader to, you want to refresh their memory about as you finish up the essay. So till now, we've not thought about the word limit at all. You've been focusing on coming up with ideas, putting pen to paper, conveying them, and in a cohesive manner that's attractive to readers. So, but we also have a word limit, and that's 750 words. It's not a lot, especially to convey things that you have worked on for about 6 months. But that is the word limit, and so you want to write the first draft without heeding the word limit too much. Constantly thinking about the word limit can distract you from focusing on conveying your ideas in the best possible way. So just write it all, and then take some time, sleep on it, come back to the essay, and revisit what you've written. Sometimes you might have ideas that are being repetitive, or you have a lot of ideas, great ideas, and some of them may not be very unique to your application process. So you could get rid of them, and you want to make sure that you convey the most important idea first. So if you have two key learnings from the application process, one of them is more meaningful to you and it's going to actually change something you're going to do, and the other was something not as important. You're also going to do something about it during the college, but it's not as important. Then you want to focus the essay on the first one, and then like the convey that first and give as much information about it as possible, and then you know uh, roughly maybe you could do like 70-30 distribution between the two ideas to write down the words. But yeah, if you have too many ideas, try to remove some of them. That's the easiest way to cut down like large chunk of words. So if you're like at 1500 or 1800 words, then you have to more than half the essay. So you have to start by removing entire ideas and paragraphs out. And again, sometimes you might find that the same idea is repeated in different words in the beginning and maybe again somewhere in the middle. So getting rid of those repetitions or restructuring the paragraphs such that these ideas appear together, so you don't have to repeat as much information later, would really help in cutting down some words. um, but once you have cut down like the major chunk of words, let's say you're roughly at maybe 800 or 900 words, then you want to focus on the actual language. Um, Try to remove qualifiers like very or actually that don't change the meaning of the sentence. Um, and you could maybe like rewrite sentences so that multiple words that are conveying the same meaning could be replaced by a single word. So here I have two examples where the first one is clearly a lot more concise than the second one, but they're conveying the exact same idea. So you want to cut down on words like that and removing some redundant words. These are just some examples on how to improve the language, but a quick Google search can give many such ideas on how you can cut down words in an essay. But again, this is only helpful if your essay is marginally over the word limit, maybe 100 words at max. If you're maybe like 200, 300 words or one third over the essay, then you want to really rethink the ideas. That's what's going to be more effective in cutting down the words. But yeah, so it's cutting down the English, changing the language. Sometimes, making things talk like a story might add a lot more words. So at that time, you have to take a call because the word limit is more important. And so you want to cut down on the anecdotes and get to the point at times. So yeah, these are some tips on how you can reduce the word limit. These are not specific just to this essay. You can apply them to any writing anywhere. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say. A quick summary: outline all your thoughts, focus on the key ideas that you want to convey during the essay. While you're organizing your thoughts, just make sure you're being highly introspective, and focus on your personal and unique journey. Every idea, note down the evidence and what are the specific action items that you're going to follow through based on that idea. Make an introduction that pops out to the readers. organize your ideas into paragraphs and let these paragraphs like focus on a single idea each, generally flow in some logical manner, hopefully like a story, because this is talking about your personal journey and you have several opportunities to um, make it like a story and walk the readers through your actual experience. Finally, after you've done all of this, focus on chopping down the word limit, and last but not the least, proofread, proofread, and proofread. Please avoid spelling mistakes and grammatical errors, because you've had 6 months to work on this essay. Maybe not the full 6 months, but you've had at least a month or two to work on the essay, and it just looks very slipshod if you have spelling mistakes or grammatical errors in an essay. So spend time, read it again and again, put it in a word processor, ask some friends or family professors to help you proofread it. um, but yeah, just make sure that the language is correct and there are no mistakes. And you can always contact me. I can be reached at padmapriyaduraisamy@gmail.com. And the mentors are available to help you with any writer's block you might be facing, or give you feedback on the essays, help you cut down the words a little bit. Um, we can help in many ways, so you can reach out to us as well. But just remember that the mentors also have limited bandwidth, and there are lots of applicants. So try to avoid writing last minute. Last minute panic may not help you focus very well, and it also is not very helpful for getting diverse feedback on the essay. So try to start early. You have a month to go, so now is a very good time to definitely start writing the essay, and send it over to us. We will give you feedback on it. But yes, please avoid doing it last minute, and avoid sharing your very first draft with the mentors, because, as I was saying, we have limited bandwidth. So you want to make sure that the essay is in some stage of final before you start getting feedback from people, because you know people are taking time out of their regular schedules and to read these essays. So yeah, just make sure that it's somewhat of a final draft. The initial stages can be very well proofread and edited by yourself. So take help in the final stages, but definitely take help. It's very helpful to get other people's opinion on what you've written, because sometimes you can get really attached to your own writing. But just remember that all your drafts are just drafts, they are not the final version. So try to avoid getting attached to words and instead focus on the idea. Words are just a vehicle to convey the idea. So don't hesitate to, strike out entire paragraphs or remove some of your favorite words from sentences if it helps in sticking to the word limit or being more concise. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you very much, and I hope this was helpful to you.